Hi, you're listening to the Build Your Digital Community podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Bartold, the co-founder and co-CEO of The Social Snippet, a social media agency focused on business owners growing their digital communities. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things digital community building so that you can grow your network and ultimately your business. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Build Your Digital Community. I'm your host, I'm Kristina, and today I am doing a solo episode. I don't often do these, and I always say I'm going to do more of them, but between all the guest interviews I'm doing, it feels like it's hard to carve out time to do these solo interviews. And I know there's lots of people that do them, and they do them often. My friend Mary Angelica, she has an episode every single day. Like, that is awesome, a solo episode, so she's doing awesome. But for me, it's really been about getting amazing guests on, and when I'm inspired to do something solo, I take the opportunity, and today's one of those days. It's Sunday, and I've had a number of downloads this morning. I always listen to podcasts like while I'm meal prepping and getting ready for the week, and I listen to other people's podcasts, and I'm inspired to talk about some of these topics myself and my own perspectives and spins on them. But today, actually, my podcast is inspired by my friend Laura, and Laura's a local pelvic physio that I work with and I love, and she's awesome. And we were having some real conversations this morning about like pricing things. And the reason why is because Maria and I have been running a number of in-person events, and they've ranged in price, and different people come every time. And every time people come, we're so blessed. They love the events, and they ask us when the next one is. And we had an opportunity to run one, and the price just felt a bit high. I was using Laura for a bit of market research. It felt a bit high. So that's why, just like on a side note, it's great to have great relationships with some of your clients and your customers, because on a Sunday, she was so gracious in answering my text message about being like, hey, can I run something by you? I just want to see what your thoughts are on this pricing. Anyway, we ended up jamming out on pricing. Her and I are jamming out right now on lots of stuff via voice notes, which I love. But what I really got and took away from this episode and from that conversation is I was thinking a lot about how not everyone is for you. And that's a hard thing as a people pleaser, right? Like, I am somebody who wants everyone to be happy. I want people to be excited about everything that we're doing. When something we do doesn't sell out, like, immediately, I'm worried about it. We've had these incredible dinners. They've been so good, and they've ranged from having 15 people to having 30 people. And I know they're just growing and growing, which is awesome, but I'm always worried. Every time we post one, I'm like, do you think people will come? Like, do you think people want to spend their Friday with me? And then people come and they have the most transformational experience. They make like business besties and business partnerships, and people are giving each other work, and it's like such a high return. Never mind just the community of having amazing friends. And it made me realize that not everything that we do has to be for every single person. And I feel a lot of guilt about that, because as a business owner, I always want things to be accessible for folks. And when I was in the early stages of business, so in the first year, whenever I did a discovery call, I was always so met with this idea that like I needed to adjust my prices for people's needs. So people would come to my discovery calls and they'd say, okay, I'm ready to invest. My budget's $400. And even though our prices were quite a bit more, it was really hard for me to say to people, like, unfortunately, we're not a good fit. And there's other people out there you can certainly work with. But right now, our pricing starts at $800. And that's our lowest tier pricing. And it only grows from there. So I just don't think we're a good fit. And often the people who were coming in, they were asking for the $300 or $400 package, were people who wanted $800 or $8,000 worth of work. Like, it was like tons of work. So people don't always understand how much like social media time, like how much time it is. And so what was really important for me in that time was developing the confidence to understand that my prices were my prices for a reason. And I was actually doing a disservice to my other clients who were paying full price if I was to lower the prices, as well as a disservice to myself. So there's very few things we do that we don't make money on, right? Like our dinners are a great example. We don't really make money on them. Like our real like effort is to be really about community and to be able to show people what's possible when they connect with one another. Like, we've been traveling and we've been going into all these amazing rooms, and we've been meeting all these amazing people, but it hasn't come without huge cost when there is local community everywhere. And what I realized when we started creating these rooms was that not everyone was going to buy into them. So I have had people who will tell me that the $100 price point is way too much money. And I'm like, oh, okay, that the season I'm in, that's okay for me to spend. I don't really think too much about it. But for someone else's season, that would be really hard. And different price points attract different clients, right? So, like I said earlier, like often I found with lower price points, when we had lower price points, the expectations were higher. But some of our higher price points, when we have higher paying clients, often, to be honest, we don't really get that much from them in terms of feedback or even involvement sometimes, because they're so trusting in our abilities. And so with this situation as well, like for the price point piece for us, I realized that it attracted different clients. Like a $30 event is going to attract a different group of people than a $150 event. And that doesn't matter. Like, it's not like, oh, I don't want to hang out with people who are going to go to a $30 event. I go to tons of $30 events. But I'm really thinking about, okay, if I really want to create a funnel, how do I create this funnel, right? So in the same way that a lot of people sign up for a free webinar, you'll get a lower number for a paid webinar, but you'll get a higher attendance because when people pay, they pay attention. And so I really need to think about, and I always think about this, is what is my ideal client willing to spend on something? And try to work backwards from there. Not what am I willing to spend on something, because I'm probably pitching to a former version of myself that wouldn't have spent $150 on a brunch. That like probably wouldn't have spent $15,000 to go to a mastermind in California. But I'm in the season where that's okay. And so my decisions come from that spot, right? Like, so when I get invited to something and it's, we joke about the $750 dinner that me, Maria, and Lorena went to, that was for that award that we were nominated for. Like, that felt sacrificial at that time. Like, that was like, oh my gosh, $750 for dinner. Like, what's going to come from that? And we got multiple clients from it. So it was amazing. It all worked out like awesome. But I didn't go there to get clients. We went there to enjoy and engage with our community. And so when we think about these price points, like, we're often marketing to former versions of ourselves, which is fine. But think about asking your ideal client what they would pay for something. And I've been shocked by this sometimes where, I've asked an ideal client, like, would you pay $497? Would you pay $997? Would you pay $1297? And they choose $997 because they see the value. Like, it's not just, oh, $497, it's the cheapest option, I'm going to take it. It's, I'm going to choose the option that provides me the most amount of value. And so people know that things are expensive, right? They're not always going to choose the cheapest option, but maybe you don't want to market it for $497, and that's okay too. So trying to figure out exactly, like, you don't need to be everything for everyone, right? Like, McDonald's doesn't serve steak. Nobu isn't like serving Starbucks Frappuccinos, right? Like, we have different qualities and different tastes for different things at different times. And so when we are trying to figure out how to price things, asking people what they pay is awesome, but also recognizing you do not need to serve everybody, and there's somebody who's doing it for cheaper than you, and there's someone doing it for more expensive than you. So, like, I've worked with and know social media managers who charge $3,000 a month minimum. Like, and immediately when I hear that, I'm like, I need to up my prices. But I know the value that we provide, and I'm happy with that. And until we provide more value, our prices aren't going to raise, right? That's the way that my business operates. That's how I like to live in integrity. I don't need to just raise my prices because everyone else is. So what I want the message of this podcast to be today is that you don't need to be for everybody. You don't need to every single time someone asks you to do something, you have to do it because someone's asking you. Like, trying to figure out exactly how we can stay in our energy and in our highest power, that is the best way to run our businesses. And so, yes, if you're going to run a $150 brunch and nobody comes to it, that's information, right? That's information. People didn't want that. So how do you find people that are going to want what you want? And sometimes you don't even have the right community or the right audience. So I always say, I have a client, they work specifically with wealthy people. Like, that is their thing. I'm like, what do you do to hang out with wealthy people? Like, where do you find them? And they're like, I don't really do much to hang out with wealthy people. I'm like, there we go, right? That's why you're not finding clients, is you're not around your ideal client. So finding spaces where your ideal client is also going to give you a chance to figure out what they want, because you can have conversations with them. But also, if you're looking to elevate how much people are paying you, you need to elevate how much you're paying. So if you're like, for me, for example, a lot of the clients we were getting were from free communities. That was the original thing. There's a lot of amazing free communities out there. That's not a knock. Like-minded collectives is one of my favorite with Inbal. You guys should listen to my episode with Inbal about building community. It is so good. But it's a free community, right? That's great. And now when I pay and I go to a $10,000 room, people paid $10,000 to be there, meaning they have $10,000, right? So they're more likely to invest at a higher rate because they have the money. So think about the rooms that you're showing up in and asking yourself, like, okay, where do I want to be? And it's okay to serve people at $30. It's okay to serve people at $9.99. It's also okay to serve people at $30,000. Like, that's okay. But you need to ask yourself where you're at in your business and what makes the most sense for you, because you don't need to serve everyone. So just wanted to drop that note for you guys. This was a download I was having this morning, and I'd love to hear what you think about it. It means the world to me when you share these podcast episodes, but shoot me a DM and let me know how this resonates with you. Thanks so much for listening to the Build Your Digital Community podcast. If you loved the episode, please don't forget to rate us and leave us a review. Now, we'd love for you to be a part of our digital community. Text JOIN to 855-908-4688 to join our text list for exclusive social media tips, or DM us on Instagram at The Social Snippet, letting us know what you loved about the episode. Keep on building community, and to this and so much more.